Okay, good evening again. Thank you. That was quite a surprise about this long quote from an article I didn't even know existed, but it does reflect most of my life, except for some details. Of course, we've recovered wonderfully after 2008, and my investors actually gave us money, and I know it very well because we have Japanese investors, and my wife was giving birth to our second daughter. And I was literally in the Kreissaal, in the birth-giving room. We had a birth plan, we had, different plans. And the Japanese chief executive officer of Nomura called me and said, I will not talk to your deputy, I only talk to you. My wife is giving birth. I will not take to anybody else, you're not respecting me. And my wife is giving birth. Okay, well, and in the end of the day, they delivered money 2 weeks after Lehman crisis, and that allowed us to double our money again since the crisis. So things are good. But life moves on. Let's see if this works. It does. Great. Okay, stopping climate change by moving the trillions. Now they always say if the young only knew and if the elderly or the wise only could, yes. So I think we learned a wonderful many things, but I do hope we can make a big difference. There have been fantastic events in Paris this year. One was the Climate Day, where the topic was moving the trillions. How can we move the trillions we need to move? And there's great enthusiasm. The French are great speakers and there's a lot of fun. And just this week I was at a Divest Invest conference in Paris with Bill McKibben, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Brenningmeier family, many, many wonderful people, and they're all very enthusiastic that we are really moving the needle. To remind you, I'm part of a movement called Divest Invest, an investor network that has decided that they would divest all of their fossil assets within the next 3 years. You click on the webpage divestinvest.org, and you commit to sell within 3 years. I did that, and our CFO, CEO, Michael Ludwig said, okay, go ahead and do it, and I did. And after we sold all of our remaining assets somewhere, the oil price collapsed from 150 to 50, so it was a great, so very nice, very nice. So the Divest Invest movement is moving along. We convinced the Rockefeller family to divest, as you may know, big announcement after the climate march in New York on 23rd of September last year. And that was $50 billion committed to divest last September. This September 22nd, 1 year later, we're about to make an announcement that's so far secret, please don't tell the press yet, of about $1 trillion of people committed to divest. And what's much more important is the signal. The people report back from the boardrooms of Shell and Total and others that the CEOs that used to go to the playground at the schools with their children say, I fuel the world, I'm a cool guy, I'm a nice guy. And now all the kids look at him, you're the guy causing climate change, you're evil. And then people are really, they're calling us saying, oh God, can't you stop it? I mean, please. And then now they're proposing to please introduce a price on CO2. So the movement is really, really going ahead, and please click on divestinvest.org and commit to sell all of your fossil fuel assets in 3 years. It's a wonderful idea. But quickly to the presentation, I did a few slides. This is what we heard about. My father just updated this. The global growth continues, global energy consumption continues, and CO2 emissions continue. Life is sad. And as we learned from the wonderful director of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, there are 3 ways to react to crisis. You can either say, damn, that's really sad, that's really depressing, can't do anything. You can say, I'm really angry. Or you can say, what an opportunity. So, back in Russia, we of course enjoy, by the way, to clarify, we now live in Berlin, we're Berliners, but with the Russian wife, I have close ties to Russia. We always think it's nice to have palm trees in Siberia, but the truth is, of course, all of Siberian infrastructure would collapse if we have warmer temperatures. And this just shows again, we have, with this increase in CO2 emission, really 0.8 degrees warmer temperatures from the global level. But the very good news is, and Germany has brought horrible things to the world last century, from World War I to World War II, the Holocaust, and any other things that weren't so nice. This time, the stingy German may actually make a contribution to the world. And in Russia, we're very famous. People look at a German, they think it's a decent guy. He's as proper as the Mercedes door that goes plop. You know, the perfect, honest, clean. They didn't know that we were allowed to pay bribes abroad and get tax deduction for it until 1999. But anyway, we have a great reputation, and we have a great reputation in the whole world, so we can really make a difference in the world because we did it. In Germany, we have strong economic growth, less energy consumption, and less CO2 emissions. So that's wonderful news. And yesterday again, Mr. Pfeiffer said, oh, look, we did it in Germany, but the rest of the world isn't doing it. I said, great, let's just export the model. We can do it. Okay, and so we have done that thanks to a very visionary leader from Tatarstan, Russia, Mr. Minikhanov. He gave us money to invest in EU companies and bring them to the parts of the world where energy consumption is 4 times higher than it is per unit of GDP than it is in Germany. And guess what? No way you make less money, you make a ton of money. So in just 3 years, we've now quadrupled the revenue of our portfolio companies, and hopefully we quadruple or quintuple the value of our investments. So you can make money and do good. And of course, the elephant in the room is the world we live in has completely changed. So when I first invested in solar power in 2000 with Hermann Scheer, the price was 600 cents per kilowatt hour. And Klaas Helmke is here to witness it. We met a Russian Nobel Prize winner, Alexander Prokhorov. He said, I can make it 10 times cheaper. And I said, that's crazy. And he said, when I said I could make light go straight, people told me I was crazy. Later they gave me the Nobel Prize. I save you the pain, go and invest here. Okay? So Alexander Prokhorov of Russia inspired us. He said, you've learned mathematics, you learned economics, you worked for Deutsche Bank, you know how to raise money. You could now open a Starbucks in Moscow, or you can open something else, a Sainsbury shop or something, or you can save the world. There are 2 billion people that you can give cheap solar power, and if you give it to them, they can finally wash their children, they can finally read at night, and they can come out of poverty. So please, let's invest in solar power. And so he inspired us, and indeed, what was done is amazing. All these years we had to depend on governments, and it was crazy to invest in solar power. But this year, amazing things happened. It took me, after 15 years of investing in this sector, half a year to grasp what happened. In November last year, the Dubai power plant had an open tender, invited nuclear, gas, coal, oil. PV won with 5.6 cents per kilowatt hour. Remember in Germany we pay 22, 23, 5.6. And then PwC did a calculation and said, and the National Bank of Abu Dhabi, we would only use oil when the price falls to $9 a barrel. Not 90, not 49. Only at $9 a barrel would it be able to compete with solar at 565. Okay, then the skeptics come back. Oh, this is just a crazy AQAL, or similar name, company from Saudi Arabia. He just bid a cheap price to win the tender, but it's not cost, it's just trying to get business. 3 months later in Austin, Texas, a free tender, nuclear, power, oil, gas, coal, and it's won by Sun Edison, a very rational company, at 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So now the Saudis were smart. They made 65 cents on top each kilowatt hour. And as I was gathering what that meant, that was $8 a barrel, the new data came in August, 4 cents a kilowatt hour in Austin, Texas. And yes, indeed, if you have a stimulating system, as in Germany, to have high feed-in tariffs, of course we don't care, we don't cut costs. In America, cutthroat competition, the price is down to 4 cents. And now the dam is broken. Nobody will build any more coal, oil, gas, nuclear plants unless they're completely crazy, like the UK government subsidizing at 35 cents per kilowatt hour. It is unbelievable. So the world has changed completely, and it's fantastic. We're in a new industrial revolution, like at the end of last century, 2 centuries ago. On the left-hand side, you have the New York 5th Avenue in 1900, and you see a bunch of cars, which are actually not cars, these are horse-drawn carriages and horses. And as you know, the problem with this horse was the stuff coming out the back. But not only that, there was a national and an international conference on how to get rid of the stuff coming out the back. Not only that, they were too slow. The best investment at the time were whip makers to beat the horses. Whip here, whip there. And guess what? 13 years later, tell me where the horse is. Anybody see a horse here? Not one horse. In Germany today, number 1, at 7.5 cents a kilowatt hour in Bavaria, you can go do your own solar power. Another 7.5 cents equivalent, and you have your own Mercedes-Benz battery in the basement, and at 15 cents total, you're off the grid independent. You pay almost a third less than the price on the grid. So anybody can just get off the grid. We're done. It's history. Electric cars, we're working with a portfolio company called the Mobility House from Munich. They used to do water storage and pump the water up at night when the electricity was cheap and pump it down during the day, and made money that way. They now have a system, they make 2,000 euros a year per electric car battery. That lives 10 years. That means by having an electric car battery, you can make 20,000 euros. As you know, when you buy a Tesla in Germany, you charge for free. Now you're going to get 2,000 euros a year on top. So we're working with an unnamed, well, with all the big car companies, but one big company is planning to give us a car like the mobile phone. They give it to you for free. Only condition, you plug it in. And by the time someone gives you an electric car, like the Tesla goes from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds, with 7 people inside, nearly for free, I think you're going to no longer ride the horses. Because the truth is, with our cars, it's still what comes out the back, okay? And here, the most important thing is we have overcapacity in Germany. Germany can change the world. We can now replace all 40 million fossil fuel cars with electric batteries. The batteries charge at night when there's wind, they charge during the day when there's sun. We need 0 additional capacity to go on completely electric transport. And we become completely independent, as Mr. Kohl asked us to do 25 years ago. Okay, on the carbon bubble, you heard this already. Basically, there are billions invested in the ground. This is a serious global financial risk. I love the German government for its reply to the request, is there a risk for Germany? The reply was, very few German banks have lent to oil, gas and coal companies, thus there's very little risk. Surprise, surprise. The mortgage bubble did not come from Germany. Very few people lent money to hookers with 0 income, 3 times mortgages. It did not happen in Germany, and yet we live in a global world. So this bubble will hit us very hard. There's now $21 trillion in assets which will be written off, independent of an agreement in Paris or not, because it is no longer competitive to put oil, gas and coal out of the ground, because long-term prices will go down. And this means you can make money on the downside, you can make money on the upside. The new JP Morgans, the new Rockefellers are being born, and people like Mariana and Tom, and hopefully some of all of us, will be part of this if we get this new energy revolution. On impact investing, we've had a very bad rep, because this is how I like my favorite description of impact investing. This is the division between doing good and doing bad. Just to remind you, all of your bank savings account are impact investing. You just don't know that it's being used for cluster bombs or something else. You have no clue what's happening to your money, right? You're completely unaware. You put it to Sparkasse, you don't know what's happening. So all investments are impact investments. But let's say positive impact is this side. Then here up we have positive return, negative return. Down here is philanthropy. People accept negative return and they do good. I believe we can make a lot of money just making a bit of impact and then getting high returns, 20–25% per annum. I'm sure that if you commit to always do good, you get better teams. If you commit to be honest, if you commit not to pay bribes, you can make a lot of money. That's our track record. I'm not going to brag about the track record. We have huge amount of money, a wall of money looking to do good. Out of 370 trillion financial assets, 45 trillion want to invest, 45 trillion into clean assets under the United Nations, signatories to the principles of responsible investing. So we've got to find a home for this money. I need you guys to help us build that home. And here's how we think the home could look like. Unfortunately, many people went to the early stage venture, clean tech, and got blown up the last decade. So it's time to build an asset manager that is an institutional home for the trillions that we need and that can make lots of money. That would include people who make macro bets. If we have no more oil off Brazil will be good short. That will include long-short bets. You don't need coal companies. You may need electric car companies, bonds, real estate, agro. The re-establishment of land is very valuable and profitable. As many land we need as carbon sands. Sinks, we need forests as carbon sinks. And again, it's profitable. Venture growth, buyout, and all of these things you should do. We decided to call this Reef after vacation in Florida, where I met Winter the dolphin, and found out that you can regrow coral reefs if you're smart. So somewhere was my picture of the coral reef. It is, there it is. So Reef, I invite you all to join us in what will be hopefully a circular economy without waste. We don't have to throw things away, and where we can all make wonderful money. And I don't think it's less, it's going to be more profitable. And as Mr. Baumgart, who inspired us very much, said, do we really think we're more stupid than a tree, right? And a tree absorbs carbon, we can absorb carbon, we can do this, and I do hope we get good news from Paris, and if we don't, It's up to us to do it, and I think we can do it profitably, I'm convinced. Thank you very much.